Hi everyone, it's Jessica. Thanks for joining me today as I scrapbook this one-page layout of my kids when we were at Barnes & Noble a couple of years ago. I am using the Sweet Safari paper collection from Close to My Heart today, and I've already just kind of skipped over where I've cut off all the zip strips and cut up my paper pieces and gotten everything prepped and ready for this one-page layout. Now, I did also include some of the mix-in papers that are part of the January and February 2021 catalog. Because those mix-in papers coordinate perfectly with both of the paper collections that are part of that seasonal catalog. And then I'm using Bluebird as my color for the cardstock, and that's just kind of what I'm finishing up some of my little paper pieces here. Now, I did get this design idea from Pinterest, and I found a page map that was posted by Cheryl Even at evenmorescrapping.blogspot.com, and that was just kind of the design that I was following as I was cutting up all of my paper pieces, and I will try to link that below for you. So I have here about 4 pictures, and they are, I want to say 3x4 and 4x4 if I remember correctly, or something of that nature, but you can see that there's 4 of them on here, and I'm just kind of arranging them on my Bluebird piece of cardstock and leaving a little bit of a reveal all the way around so that they kind of are framed on that piece of cardstock there. And then I'm going to put that over on the side of this paper. I really love this one. It's got like little plus signs and hearts on it, and it's just a white piece of paper with those in black. And then, like I said, I took some of that Sweet Safari paper and the mix-in paper and just cut up a couple of different sized rectangles and different lengths and shapes and sizes, and then also a white circle that I cut out. And then I'm just kind of arranging them coming off of the side of that piece of Bluebird cardstock. And then I am going to dovetail that other Bluebird piece right here just to kind of have that one. And then this white circle is going to tuck beneath, and that is where I'm going to ultimately draw some journaling lines on it and kind of have my journaling peeking out from underneath those pictures. So that's pretty much it. I'm really, for the most part, just kind of eyeballing the placement of everything. I did just check there to see, how far over does that piece of Bluebird cardstock come, so that when I start gluing these down, that I make sure that they are actually going to be underneath that cardstock. Now, this is a little tip that I recently learned, and maybe some of you already know this, but it was like one of those aha brilliant things that I never really realized before. Tape your paper down to your Versamat so that it's not shifting when you're trying to check out your measurements. Just use a little bit of washi tape. And I know washi tape's not supposed to be really tacky anyway, but sometimes I find it does still rip my paper. So I've just been sticking it on the back of my hand and then, peeling it up until it's not very tacky at all. Now here what I'm doing, because this is a lot of black and white for my background paper, is I am taking that spiced marmalade distress oxide ink in my blending tool, and I'm just kind of making this orange smudge all along what will end up being behind those little pattern pieces. And then I'm also taking, what color is that? I think it is Scattered Straw. It's just a yellow color, and I'm kind of going over and blending the two. So I've got this blend of orange and yellow all around. And then, like I said, most of that is going to get covered up by those little pieces of pattern paper that are peeking out next to my pictures. But there's enough of it showing that it kind of just grounds it a little bit. And then, like I said, it kind of clears up some of that white expanse that's really so overwhelming. Even though it's such a pretty pattern paper, it's a lot of white. So and then I also took my the yellow color there, that Scattered Straw, and I just used it in edge distressed around those papers. And then I did do it on the red piece too from the Sweet Safari collection, even though you can't really see it because it's yellow on red, but still it just kind of gives it a little bit of a distressed look. And I didn't even really need to pick up any more ink on my blending tool because there's so much sitting on there. I could have just kind of swiped that around the edge and then still had that show, and that would have been fine. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my T-ruler, like I said, to make sure that I actually put these on in the right spot so that they end up being glued behind that picture piece. And then I'm just going to start putting them down and making sure that I've got them in a straight line and that they will be covered. And this is a really fast and easy layout. I really enjoy doing this one. And I thought that this would be a really good way also to use up some scraps if you have a bunch of scraps, because, this is just the one the background piece of paper, and then a piece of cardstock, and then really everything else is so little and tiny that this would be a great way to use up some of those scraps if you've got some favorite papers that you just can't bear to throw in the garbage, and they're too pretty to throw away, but still you want to use them somehow, some way. This would be the perfect layout to do that on. And so I'm just kind of layering some of them. As you can see, there's a little gap between that red and that one yellow piece, and then I put the other longer rectangle over top of it and just kind of layering some of these things. And then I did draw some journaling lines off camera onto that white piece, and then I put that down there. Now, if I were to do this again, I don't know if I would edge distress that white circle with that Spice Marmalade Distress Oxide, because it was so much color on there. I would edge distress it, I think, somehow, just to make that white circle stand out, but that just kind of, I didn't really love that too much, but what's done is done. All right, now it's time to add the title and some embellishments. So I love all of the wooden embellishments that Close to My Heart carries. They're my absolute favorite. And so I still have some of these left over from the Bloom with Grace collection. And there's the word smile that is in there. And so I think I'm going to use that as my title. And then also I'm going to pull in some of the wood stars and kind of place those around the page as well. Now, as much as I love the wood embellishments, and trust me, I love them, and I have to like hold myself back from using them on every single layout so that it doesn't look a little bit, over the top. When I put them on here, just because, again, there was so much going on with those little pieces poking out, and I don't know, I just felt like they kind of got lost in the page, and I thought that they maybe needed a little something to make them stand out. So what I decided to do, and this is another trick that I recently learned, is I decided to take my Distress Oxide ink and basically paint over these wood pieces. Because Distress Oxide ink is like a pigment type of ink, and so it really is like painting. It just kind of sits on the top. Now, you could do this with a regular ink pad as well, but I feel like that would make the color more of a stain rather than truly like kind of painting over the wooden pieces. And so that's what the Distress Oxide does, is because that color sits on top of it. And then that way, it's not like a stained sort of color, but really like you painted those shapes. Now, I wasn't sure what color did I want to do. That was the next question, because I had used that Spice Marmalade over there to smudge on my bottom piece of paper, and I wasn't sure if that was the color I wanted to do. And I thought, well, you know what? I could flip it over. If I do this and I decide that that's not the color I want, then I can always turn my test star over and use the other side. And so that's kind of what I ended up doing. I didn't really want to do more orange, and I decided I wanted to pull out some of the green that was in that one pattern piece from the Sweet Safari collection, because I wanted to have some more colors. It was a very bright and colorful kind of layout is what I was going for. And so I decided to use peeled paint. And so that ends up working. So then I take the rest of my wooden pieces and I do the same process. So I'm just kind of picking up some of the ink on my sponge applicator, and then I'm like pouncing it on top of the wooden pieces. And then I went ahead and did most of the rest of that off camera because I was really making the camera shake. But that's really all that you need to do, is just to keep going over it and pouncing on top of it until you have that color saturation that you want it to be. And then remember that Distress Oxide ink does take a little bit longer to dry, so I kind of let those sit there for a few extra minutes, and then I was really careful when I picked them up. I still had some inky fingers when I was done with this page, but just kind of keep in mind that does take a little while to dry. And then I usually adhere my wood embellishments with some liquid adhesive. So this is just some art glitter glue that I was using. And then I just go ahead and kind of adhere those down around the page in a couple of different clusters. So I've got one cluster in that bottom right corner and another one up there above where my title is going to be with the smile word. And really it's just, that's pretty much all there is to this page, was just, like I said, a little bit of smudging to kind of ground that black and white piece of pattern paper that is my base page. And then a bunch of little scrappy kind of pieces. If you have some scraps that you want to use up, that I cut into various sizes of rectangles, and I had them coming out of my pictures. And then just a couple of embellishments, and really that was all that this page needed. And I thought that it turned out really cute. I really liked this page. this makes me smile. You can't really see my son smile because he has his binky in his mouth, and at that point in his life, he always had his binky in his mouth, but he is definitely smiling. They love going to Barnes & Noble. I love going there because books are my thing and I love to read, and they do love to read too, but for the kids it's more about playing with that train table that they have back in the kids section, of course. And so usually I go and I pick up my books, and then I sit there and I can kind of start reading one of them, drink my Starbucks coffee while they play with the train table for a little while before I finally drag them kicking and screaming home. So that's kind of what this page was about, and like I said, I know he is smiling behind that binky. Now, after I did my wood embellishments, I remembered that, you know what, I never even went to my sticker sheet for the Sweet Safari collection. And I kind of thought, I wonder if there is something else that I could put on this page. I did find a little sentiment sticker that I put down at the bottom, and I used my anti-static pouch to take the stick off of it just so I could kind of test if that's where I really wanted it to be. And then I did like it there. Ultimately, I pop it up with some foam tape. But other than that one sticker from that sticker sheet, I don't think I use anything else. There was a little heart cluster from the sticker sheet that I tried really hard to put somewhere, but it just didn't go, which is fine because that means that now I have that sticker sheet, to use for more and more projects in the future, because I still have quite a bit of this paper left, because as you can see, this layout didn't really use very much of it at all. So like I said, here you can see I'm going to try with that heart, and I'm going to try. Nope, not there. No, okay, put it back on the page, Jess. It's just not going to work. I don't know if anybody else ever does that, but I do that all the time. I just stick it back on. If it's not that sticky, no big deal. I add some adhesive when I do eventually use it. So that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. Thanks for checking out my YouTube channel. If you like what you see, please feel free to hit subscribe. And also I will link some of the products below. So if you are interested, you can check those out. And I appreciate everybody stopping by to watch. All right, guys, have a wonderful day and happy crafting. See you later.